Gareth, a nice local away trip for once during this season. Off to Colchester, an early kick-off. What kind of challenge will Colchester pose at the weekend?
Yeah, a really good challenge. They're on a real good run. Very counter-attacking team, but I think Danny Cowley has obviously got them going after a sticky start, and they're playing really free-flowing football and scoring good goals. So yeah, we're gonna have to be at our best, but there's no reason we can't go and pick the points up on the day. It's important that we're organised. We know what we're doing, and because I'm sure that they'll be up for it on this run that they're on. It's a fantastic run. So hopefully we can stop them.
The fans will be up for it as well. I imagine we'll take around about 1,000. It'll make for a cracking atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, travelled really well. I've said that a lot, and they were great at Shrewsbury last week. They really were, even at 2-1 down, 3-1 was a test for them, but thankfully it was only a couple of seconds before half time. But they got right behind the second half when we were kicking towards them, and you can see what kind of football we played second half. I'm really pleased and proud of that, and we will do damage to teams, but we've got to earn the right to do that, and that was second half, getting hold of the ball, being composed, and playing some good stuff. So thoroughly deserved the draw last week. As I said, I think 5 minutes more we win that game, and that would have been sensational comeback. But no, I want to take the finish of that game into the start of Colchester on Saturday, and like I say, an early kick-off. I think we're the only game at that time, and because of the FA Cup, and very few league teams playing, that weekend. So it's a chance to grab some points and make the weekend count.
You get Armani Little back from suspension at the weekend. I bet he's chomping at the bit to be involved following his suspension.
Yeah, Martins is the club captain, and a real warrior, a real talisman, and he was devastated to be banned for the 2 games, and we've had that a couple of times this year, which has been tough to take, but brilliant to have him back, and 1 or 2 others, now creeping on the grass, which is great. Conor Masterson's seen out there, which is great. 1 or 2 knocks, but we're going with a pretty strong team.
You had to take off Sam Vokes last week due to injury. Will he be involved, or is that a wait and see? Yeah,
he came off with a niggle in his calf, but he felt it early enough for us to not have to worry too much about him being out, which was great. So, hopefully Vokes will make the trip. But it was great for Josh Andrews to take his moment, and he was colossal second half. He really was, and so, as I've always said, when one door closes, another one opens, and that was great for Josh, and see Josh doing what he does best. He had one of the best games he's had for a while for us, and the little break we took him out for, I think, worked.
Lovely. Matt, all yours. Thanks, Gareth.
How do you take the impressive end of the Shrewsbury game into the start of an early kick-off and start as strong as you ended on Saturday?
Yeah, and it's all mental preparation, video work, showing the boys what they were like. They need to see it. There was obviously some terrible things in the first half. Some real bad individual errors and led to goals, and we didn't really make Shrewsbury work that hard for their goals. We actually gifted a couple, and that's something we've got to stop doing. Because if you give Colchester chances, they'll take them. They're better than Shrewsbury, in my opinion. So we've got to make sure that we believe that we can score against teams first. At the moment it's like, we're waiting for something to happen in the game. And I've told the boys this. I want them to make sure that they are the aggressors. They are the ones thinking, right, we can get a goal. We can go 1-0 up. We can capitalise on that. Well, this game is incredible. You score first, and you probably sit back and defend, and you see it so often in the Premier League, even not just leagues 1 and 2, but goals do change games. It's an old saying, and they really do. And momentum's huge, in that. So we've got to be really mentally switched on at the start of the game. We have the tactics. We've got what we want to put in place in plan, and it's over to the boys to execute it. But I've asked them to do something, so I'll take the flak if it doesn't work. But great bunch, and we've trained really well this week. But yeah, the game on Saturday is going to be the proof in the pudding.
Does that suggest something different?
No, I'm not going to give my tactics away. So scoring 3 goals in a half, or 2 goals in a half to come back from 3-1 down. I'm hoping we don't have to do that. So yes, it will be different. But we've got various ways of playing. You know, I'm built with a style, but you know, somebody looks at the stats from last week's game. I think we look like the total football team, and Shrewsbury look like the long ball team. You know, I think they completed not even 80 passes in the game. You know, and we were something 200-300. You know, so people can say what they want about the game and styles and things. All I want to do is win, and I'll do anything to win a game, no matter what it takes. You know, and if that's wrong, then you know, I've been wrong all my life. So, but I just want to win football games, no matter what it takes, and that's how I approach every game.
3 central defenders out injured last week, so Robbie's having to play there. Do you miss him in midfield?
Yeah, definitely. You know, he's a great utility player to have, which in a small squad is really great. But yeah, I thought last week and previous weeks when I've played him at centre half, we've missed him in midfield. So yeah, again, there could be a couple of changes there, but you know, Robbie can play anywhere really well, and I'm you know, very happy that we've got him in the squad, because like I say, he's filled in almost everywhere this season, you know, and I'm sure he could play up front if I asked him to. But no, great player, Robbie McKenzie, and you know, great person as well, which is important. But yeah, we'll see on Saturday.
Yeah. What's the latest on those 3 injured centre backs? You mentioned there that Conor Masterson's getting a little bit close, which is obviously good to see.
Yeah.
Out a long time. Andy Smith out, and then I think we saw a picture of Shadowy with his arm wrapped up in a lot of bandages.
Yeah.
Midweek.
No, I think Andy and Shadrack are both in serious contention for the squad. Conor won't be in the squad. He's still a few weeks away. But yeah, Andy and Shad will both be hopefully making the trip.
Yeah. And Lenny was only on a contract till January? Have you started talks about extending that?
Yeah, we have, yeah, and obviously as always we keep all contract talks private, you know, between the club. But yeah, Lenny's the only one up in January. Johnny Smith obviously with a loan to the end of the season. So when January comes along for him as well, there's always talk of that. But we are really happy with both of them, really. You know, I think Johnny's just suffered through injury, which has been tough for him to take. But Lenny, yeah, I think when we saw glimpses of him and coming on last week again, he did really well. So yeah, we're pleased with the way Lenny's going.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, my colleague Matt asked a question about what it was like to have Armani Little back in the side. Unfortunately, we had to edit all that out on Friday night. So let's try and ask the question again. How important is it to have Armani Little back in your squad?
He's your captain, he's your leader. He problem solves. You know, drives the team from whether he's on the bench, whether he's in the side, whether he's in the stand. You know, he's one of those that he was out the team at Newport, he was out the squad at Newport, he wanted to come along and get behind the boys. He was out the team at Shrewsbury last week, he wanted to be on the trip. Yeah. So yeah, Armani's a super character to have around, and you know, a grafter and a winner. So having him in your squad is definitely something important for this club.
And also, I think in the post-match last week, there was so much to ask about the actual game. What we didn't get down to very much is what it was like for you to return to the dugout. I mean, yeah, what was that? What was that like? I mean, is do you put football in a different perspective now after what you've been through?
No, I don't think I can. I think I'm me, and I've always been pretty good at perspective. You know, some people do get carried away with this game, thinking it's everything, and some people can change a little bit. More fool them. You know, I will always be the same. If anything, it puts it in more perspective. But you know, I think it was just a surgery to fix something that they'd found. I was never ill. I was never, you know, I've had people come to me. I heard you had a heart attack. No, nothing of the sort. No, it was just something found and fixed. It shows how fragile we are as humans, but also, you know, I think that I was pretty good anyway. You know, football is really important, but it's not everything, and I'm able to detach from that. You know, I've got a great family, great friends around me, and for me that's judging success. You know, the people around you, people that are there for you. A lot of people judge success in different ways, and but that's up to them.
Yeah, obviously you're a lot more involved in the dugout, but having had that spell in the stands, do you realise then how important a manager being in the dugout is even more so?
Yeah, well, it didn't seem so in the first half, did it? But second half, I think making the decisions on the substitutions, getting the messages across. When I want to put someone on, I get them on. when you're talking on the phone, it's like, right, who do you want to come off? And you're trying to make 3 substitutions. Messages are getting sort of misinterpreted and what shape you want to play. So those sort of things were really important last week, and I'm glad that a couple of the subs made a real big impact. And obviously one of them scored the equalising goal. So being on the touchline would be great. It'd be great again. But like I say, some people do it in a different way. I'll just be myself, the energising self, inspiring the boys, but there for them when they need me, and hopefully we can get the result.
Could be said a 3-3 draw is probably not the best for somebody who's just come back from heart surgery, but you got through it all right, but you're all fine.
Yeah, got through it all right. It was nice to go back there. Like I say, the pantomime was fun at times. I saw the chairman of Shrewsbury, Roland Wycherley, and a great guy, and we had a nice chat before the game. So that was all great. Shrewsbury people don't know what he's done for that club. Fantastic. So I totally can sympathise with his position and sometimes what he goes through. But the game itself was nice. It was nice to come back. If being honest, I didn't want to lose there because there were all sorts of stories and connotations of should have stayed or should have whatever. I'm here. I'll give it 100% for this football club. Great to be back, but the only thing in my mind now is Colchester United.
Brilliant. Good luck.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Sorry, Peter, right, haven't come back.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was the emotions, and at half time, having to give a bit of a blast to the boys, but also then tell them how they could get back in the game. And that was so it's very, very interesting half-time team talks. You have 15 minutes. You probably got three maximum minutes to speak to the boys. There's all sorts going on. They come in. It takes them 2 minutes to get in. There's all sorts of recovery going on. There's all sorts of, is everyone okay? Messages, massages, players talking to each other. Then you've got to time it right for when you speak, what your points are, how much clarity you give the boys, tell them what to do, and then they have to really rest. They need to go again in the second half. So it's about getting them relaxed, sitting down, and making sure that when that whistle goes, they know exactly the plan, and they believe the plan. And so it's not, not what you see on TV sometimes, and it really is a structured process at half time. And I think the better teams seem to get it right. The half time team talks and the structure, and listen, I still get them wrong, but I'm quite experienced now in how I do that.
Well, this is a daft question, but would you actually relieved to be on the bench on Saturday?
Do you know what? The Shrewsbury fans are not. The animosity is not like you think it is at some clubs where I think can be very toxic, can be very scary. They're great people. One of the big reasons was the viewing platform to be with the analysts was over the other side of the ground, and it would have taken me a good few minutes to get back over at half time, and I've had to climb down a ladder between all the Shrewsbury fans, and I'm not sure climbing down a ladder with a heart condition was right anyway. So everything pointed towards me being back, and honestly I think I'm a couple of weeks early, but I'm a pretty good healer, and I know my own body, and the surgeons done a fantastic job with me, and like I say, I want to put that behind me now and get stuck into being back on the touchline.
Looking ahead to Saturday, is it a bonus that it's been moved forward from Tuesday?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's a bonus for everyone. It's a Saturday game. I think the fans will appreciate not having to do a Tuesday night. I know how hard it is for getting off work early to get to the game, getting home late, waking up the next day for a game. At least they can take their time on a Saturday morning to get over there, and they've got the whole of Saturday afternoon and evening to hopefully celebrate. But you never know, they might need to consolidate. But we wanted to do it as much for the fans as much for us. The loading schedule is still crazy over Christmas, so it really is. And if we'd have had an FA Cup game as well as the Tuesday game 2 weeks before going into a mental period of 4 games in 11 days, it's just chaos at times. And so we're glad. I'm not glad to be out the FA Cup. I love the FA Cup. I wanted to be in round 2 without a doubt, because the draw for round 3 is something special, and you want to be in that. But unfortunately, we're not. So the next best thing was moving that game, and thank Colchester for agreeing to that. And hopefully, it'll be a good game for everyone on Saturday.
I'm talking about the Christmas period. Obviously, you've got Colchester here over Christmas, so you're playing twice in, I think that's done like 21 days or something. Does that make Saturday more important to get a result?
No, not really. No, we've done this. When you get the fixtures at the start of the season, there's always one team that you play in quick succession. This year it's Colchester. I don't know who it was last year for the Gills, but you always get this one team. I don't know why, but it has to be very close around the Christmas period. And you know, you look at your New Year's fixtures, your Boxing Day fixtures, and then you look at that team. And it was Colchester this year. So, but I don't put any extra impetus on the game now. It's definitely a one-off, and the one on the 29th will be a one-off. You know, but you know, the one on the 29th is 2 home games over the Christmas week, which, you know, I want to capitalise on. But again, it's a mental schedule, you know, and we've got to make sure that we're all fit, we're all good to go, and that's where the squad rotation will come in. But this Saturday I'll be playing my strongest team that I believe will get the result of Colchester, and hopefully we can do that.
And obviously, with fingers crossed, how close do you think you're going to be to having a full squad for Christmas?
Yeah. Super hypothetical question, but if everything was as it is now, I think we'd probably have everybody back for Christmas, which would be fantastic, you know, and that's including Connor and Ewan and everyone. So as is now, that would be magnificent, but football is never as is now. It's sliding doors and freaky moments, and you know, the pitches are changing, the ground's getting softer, all sorts of things come into it, you know, and we need to make sure that we're as robust as we can be going into this period, and we've done everything we can to try and make that happen.